A single surprising fact can change how you see a legend. Right now, Diddy Combs is caught in a storm of new and shocking accusations. These claims don't just challenge what he's done, they also raise doubts about his honesty in court. What if everything you believed about him was an illusion? Get ready for a story full of shocking twists and powerful revelations that will keep you hooked.
At one point, Combs held a knife to her and threatened to give her a Glasgow smile. But, quote, defendant KK told defendant Diddy that she did not think giving plaintiff a Glasgow smile would be advantageous to their potential clients who they could sell plaintiff for sex to. Defendant KK then made a threat to plaintiff that they could ship her off anywhere in the world and that she would never see her family or anyone she knew ever again. An accusation, I'm sorry if I have to get graphic here, there's an accusation that Combs had forced Christina Courtroom to use a syringe to insert an IUD into Parham. And apparently she and Combs argued over it, not over actually doing it, but that it wasn't going to work. And then there's this. When defendant Drewski finished raping plaintiff, defendant KK, Christina Courtroom, entered the room to examine the condition of plaintiff who was barely able to move or control her bodily functions. Defendant KK examined plaintiff to see if she needed assistance and was about to give plaintiff an IV fluid. Plaintiff cannot be certain if she did or did not receive such intravenous intervention. Defendant KK then opened a different bag, different than the one defendant Diddy removed the oil from, where plaintiff observed several medicine bottles, IV fluid bags, and other unidentifiable powder-like drugs. Defendant KK then removed a pill from one of the medicine bottles and gave it to defendant Diddy. And there were further allegations in the complaint that she needed to keep the plaintiffs in the case sufficiently drugged, that she carried around and gave out drugs, that she provided plaintiff with an IV, like I mentioned, which, by the way, is important because we know that one of the allegations in Combs' criminal case is that IV fluids would be used after prolonged, allegedly illegal sexual episodes, and that she tried to force one of the plaintiffs, an unidentified woman, to sign documents as well. By the way, in this case, she's being sued for racketeering violations, battery, assault, negligence, intentional and negligent infliction of emotional distress, unjust enrichment, aiding and abetting, sex trafficking, false.
Joseph Manzaro, a man from Florida, has made claims that could seriously damage Diddy's reputation. He says that in April 2015, during a birthday party for Diddy's son, Christian Combs, something disturbing happened. The event, called a freak-off, was wild and out of control, with normal rules thrown out the window. Big stars like Jay-Z, Beyonce, LeBron James, and Gloria Estefan were reportedly there. But it's not the celebrity guest list that's shocking. It's what supposedly happened behind the scenes.
LeBron James, Jay-Z, Beyonce, Gloria Estefan. Those are some of the names that appear in an explosive new lawsuit filed by a Florida man against Sean Combs, claiming he was a victim of sex trafficking and kidnapping at the hands of the music mogul. So why are these celebrities mentioned? What are the allegations? And most importantly, does any of this hold water?
A new Diddy accuser claiming he was sexually assaulted, raped, and humiliated at a freak-off party in Miami, and that other big stars saw him in rough shape. TMZ is all over this story. Branson Quirk joining us live. Now, Branson, let me get this right. This new Diddy accuser is basically claiming he was sexually assaulted at the freak-off party, and he claims that other celebrities were there as well.
Yes, exactly. In this lawsuit, it's important to note that these names are not being sued, but they are named as witnesses inside this lawsuit, those names being Jay-Z, Beyonce, Gloria Estefan, as well as LeBron James. Just to paint you a little bit of a picture of this horrific lawsuit, a man by the name of Joseph Manzano, he claims that he had, in the beginning of this lawsuit, he claims that he woke up in a mansion, this is way back in April of 2015, in a mansion owned by Gloria and Emilio Estefan, and when he woke up not knowing how he got there, he was then led through a tunnel to Diddy's house, and we can confirm that Diddy, his home is nearby to Gloria and Emilio Estefan's home, and once he was through this tunnel, he eventually came across and claimed that LeBron James was walking by in a towel of sorts, saw him in rough shape, and said, someone's got to do something about this, and then continuing on through that, they ended up stripping his clothes. They put a demoralizing mask on him, a genitalia mask of sorts on his face to humiliate him. And then he claims that Beyonce and Jay-Z saw him in this mask, prompting Beyonce to then ask, why is there this man in front of me wearing this mask? And then claims that going forward, he doesn't remember too much more, and he said that he was drugged and everything.
Manzaro's lawsuit claims that Diddy treated him in a way that was both degrading and disturbing. He says that Diddy strapped an object to his face and made him walk around in front of the party guests. This isn't just a brief scandal. It's an accusation so shocking that it makes us question what's real and what's simply a carefully crafted image. According to Manzaro, he was drugged and taken to a lavish party on Star Island in Miami. When he arrived at the back entrance of Emilio and Gloria Estefan's mansion, he was reportedly in a drugged state. Gloria, concerned by what she saw, called for help, but things only got worse. Emilio allegedly dismissed her concerns and told everyone to return to the party. Even NBA star LeBron James is said to have spoken up, reportedly saying, "Y'all better do something about that," indicating that even the most powerful guests noticed something was wrong. IT raises a serious question. What happens when the people we expect to stand up for what's right stay silent? Or even take part in something much darker?
Is an explosive new lawsuit that I'm going to break down for you, filed by a man named Joseph Manzaro in Florida. And this is actually in Florida federal court. So he is actually identifying himself in this lawsuit. He's not using a pseudonym. And he claims that he is a survivor of human trafficking and sexual exploitation, and more specifically, as outlined in the complaint, quote, plaintiff was drugged, transported against his will, and sexually maimed as a victim of a coercive and organized criminal enterprise beginning in 2015, orchestrated and facilitated by the defendants. The pattern of threats, concealment, manipulation, and psychological coercion persisted for years, extending the statute of limitations under federal tolling doctrines. Now, here is the kicker. Quote, high-profile individuals, including Jacob Arabo, Jay-Z, Gloria Estefan, LeBron James, and Beyonce Knowles Carter, are identified as witnesses due to their presence or knowledge of the events surrounding the freak-off orchestrated by defendant Diddy. Wow. And freak off, of course, is something that we've heard many times before, both in Combs' criminal case and other civil cases, to describe these prolonged sexual episodes, usually with sex workers. But Manzaro is suing Sean Combs. He is suing a man named Eric Mejias. He is suing Brendan Paul, who's been described in another lawsuit as Sean Combs' drug mule, Emilio Estefan, who is married to pop superstar Gloria Estefan. So it reads, quote, on or about April 2015 at approximately 5:30 p.m., very specific time there, plaintiff arrived at his residence located at 424 Valley Forge Road, West Palm Beach, Florida. As plaintiff unlocked his door and turned the handle, he felt a greasy substance resembling Vaseline on his hand. Plaintiff attempted to wash his hands, but lost consciousness before he could do so. Okay, now first off, that is eerily consistent with other accounts that Combs allegedly spiked lubricants of unsuspecting victims. But moving on, he claims that he passes out, he wakes up, and then he's in the backseat of a car. And he claims that this car is driven by Mr. Mejias, and there's another person in there, a Bonnie Rivera. And he claims before passing out once more, he hears Rivera telling Mejias, he's waking up cuz, what should I do? Do you want me to knock him out? To which defendant Mejias allegedly responded, no, don't touch him, don't worry, just give it a minute, he'll fall back asleep again. I gave him a lot of that scopolamine, which is apparently an anti-nausea medication. Now from there, Manzaro claims that he woke up at Mejia's place in Deerfield Beach, which is about 30 miles away, and he claims that is where he was held against his will. He claims he witnessed a man identified as Omar Bravo deliver cocaine and meth to Mejias, and Brendan Paul was there, quote, appearing nervous and sat with a motorcycle helmet in his lap. Again, very specific details. And he claims the drugs were placed in Paul's backpack, who then remarked how Combs wanted Manzaro brought to a freak-off event. Now, this is where all the celebrities come in. So Manzaro claims that he was taken to One Star Island Drive in Miami, Florida, and that Mejias informed security there that they were attending an event at the Estefan Mansion and mentioned it was Christian's birthday party that night. Now, in this complaint, it's not clarified, as far as I can tell, who Christian is, but it seems to be, possibly, this was Christian Combs.
The story doesn't end at the party. As the night continued, Manzaro claims he was led through a secret tunnel in Diddy's mansion by Audria English, who is now facing legal trouble herself. Inside that hidden passage, things took a dark and bizarre turn. Manzaro says he came face to face with Jay-Z and Beyoncé. In that surreal moment, Beyoncé allegedly asked, "What's this? What's going on? Why is this half-naked white man wearing a __ mask standing here in front of me?" Then, as if it were part of some twisted plan, a member of Diddy's entourage reportedly replied, "Diddy wants him to see what we do to snitches. This is part of his punishment." The scene paints a disturbing picture, one that blurs the line between performance and something far more sinister.
Now, Manzaro claims that the security logs at the entrance of Star Island would reflect this entry, so something that he hopes to get during the course of discovery. Now, from there, the complaint reads, plaintiff was dragged through the back entrance of the Estefan mansion at approximately 12:30 a.m. Not sure how he knows that time if he was in this drugged state, but he continues, inside, Gloria Estefan panicked upon seeing plaintiff's deteriorating state, demanding, "Call an ambulance." However, defendant Emilio quickly silenced her and ushered her away into the crowd. At that moment, plaintiff briefly saw LeBron James, who was wearing a white bath towel, brown shower shoes, and carrying a shaving bag, walking through the hallway. LeBron James looked at plaintiff and, in response to Gloria Estefan's plan for an ambulance, remarked, "Y'all better do something about that." Quote, plaintiff was then led by defendant Adria, who identified herself as Diddy's personal sexual assistant, and through a concealed tunnel that connected the Estefan mansion to defendant Diddy's mansion, plaintiff was secretly transferred to defendant's Diddy mansion. So that's going to become a question if, in fact, their mansions are close enough for this to even happen, and whether there is evidence of this underground tunnel or this tunnel of some sort. Quote, upon regaining partial consciousness, the plaintiff found himself inside a large party area upon information and belief that it was Diddy's son's birthday party. Jay-Z and Beyonce Knowles Carter were seated in the room, and upon seeing plaintiff, Beyonce Knowles Carter asked, "What's this? What's this all about? Why is this half-naked white man with a blank mask standing here?"
Manzaro describes a night of extreme humiliation where he was forced to walk around wearing only a small thong and a black leather mask. The mask, which he says had a disturbing attachment that was forcibly inserted and zipped shut over his head, wasn't just meant to embarrass. It was meant to completely strip him of his dignity. At one point, celebrity jeweler Jacob Arabo reportedly reacted in shock, saying, "What's this? What's going on with this guy? Why is he staring at me with a penis strapped to his face?" That wasn't just a confused question. It highlighted how deeply wrong and out of control the night had become.
Defendant Eric responded, "Diddy wants him to see what we do to snitches. This is part of his punishment." Plaintiff was forcefully paraded through multiple rooms filled with people who were jeering and taunting him. Defendant Diddy explicitly ordered plaintiff's degradation, stating, "He's going to find out what we do to snitches tonight. Get him undressed." So from there, Manzaro claims he was stripped, put in a shower, forcibly washed by two women while Mejias and Rivera watched, and then was outfitted in a thong, a black leather mask with a lock over his mouth, and then, quote, subjected to degrading and non-consensual acts at the direction of defendants Diddy and Adria. Plaintiff was sexually assaulted and forced to partake in unwanted sexual activity. And then he claims he passed out. Now, from there, he claims he woke up, found himself locked in a dark side room. Adria English and Mejias come in. They dress him, take him off the property, and then enters Jacob Arabo, also known as Jacob the Jeweler. You probably know who he is. Quote, while still semi-conscious, plaintiff encountered Jacob Arabo, who is visibly disturbed upon seeing plaintiff in his forced attire. He asked, "What's this? What's going on with this guy? Why is he standing here staring at me with a penis strapped to his face?" Defendant Eric responded, "Oh, he's just some guy who's a snitch. We're teaching him a little lesson." Defendant Emilio intervened, instructing defendant Eric and Bonnie Rivera to move the plaintiff out of Jacob Arabo's sight. Gloria Estefan again pleaded for an ambulance to be called, but defendant Emilio silenced her and shoved her into the...
Now, let's take a step back. The lawsuit names Diddy along with Emilio Estefan, Audria English, and others. But the real question is how this scandal fits into the growing list of legal issues surrounding Diddy. His legal team quickly responded, calling the lawsuit a desperate attempt to grab headlines, and claimed it was just a scheme to get money from him. But when you look closely at the details, the story starts to feel much bigger. It paints a troubling picture of a man who may have built his public image on lies, manipulation, and control.
And the other people were there in general. It's just this lawsuit technically does sound like an April Fool's joke, but no, it is not. This is a real lawsuit filed by a real attorney, and this man claims that this did all happen.
Yeah, well, worth mentioning, Diddy is innocent until proven guilty. There's no proof that these celebrities were even at this party, and anyone can make up a false allegation against a celebrity or someone in the public eye to try and take them down, right?
No, you're absolutely right. And honestly, too, we did a little bit more research. And April 1st, LeBron James, he was in town playing in Miami the next day. So people are also pointing to that as a fact that he may have been there the night before. But there's just so many details here that when you look at this entire thing, it almost looks kind of like a screenplay was written throughout, comparing to the other lawsuits here, because it's so similar to the other.
Diddy isn't just facing one lawsuit. He's being accused of running a larger, organized operation involving drugging, sexual assault, human trafficking, and witness tampering. In a separate case, it's even claimed that his actions were part of a criminal enterprise. Manzaro has compared what happened to him to modern-day trafficking. With such serious and far-reaching allegations, it raises a powerful question. When someone as influential as Diddy is at the center of a scandal this big, could every accusation and every denial be part of a much larger puzzle of deception?
Of deceit?
Upon leaving the event, plaintiff overheard defendant Diddy ask defendant Eric, "You're going to be getting rid of him, right?" To which defendant Eric responded, "Yeah, I'll be taking care of that." Following this described freak-off event, Manzaro claims he was taken back to that house where he claims he was originally kept. He was savagely beaten and then left for dead inside of his own apartment. When a gang member later inquired about how plaintiff was kept unconscious, defendant Eric responded, "Xylazine, trank." Now, again, I have to say, I struggle with the question of how he knew that this was allegedly said. Did he overhear it? Okay, that's a possibility, but could he, through these alleged beatings and druggings? That's going to be, I imagine, a difficulty for him in pursuing this case. Now, Manzaro claims as a result of all of this, he suffered physical injuries, internal trauma, groin damage, sexual maiming, hernias, and he claims he can prove this through documented evaluations from a urologist and a surgeon. But then Manzaro alleges that Eric Mejias would continue to harass and intimidate him in the years following this attack, including issuing death threats and threats to kidnap Manzaro's son. And Manzaro believes that this was all to keep him quiet. And he even claims that surveillance footage and police reports confirm attempts by Mejias to approach Manzaro's property. Additionally, a hitman named Sigfredo Garcia, who's now serving a life sentence in an unrelated murder, was in plaintiff's alleyway. A police report was filed corroborating this encounter, seen as an associate of defendant Eric was captured on security cameras outside plaintiff's residence, further evidence of a coordinated campaign of intimidation. Do you all remember who Sigfredo Garcia is? He was the man convicted and sentenced to life in prison for the 2014 assassination of FSU law professor Dan Markel, a case that has its own twists and turns and that had several trials we covered on the Law and Crime Trial Network. So here's a question for you, okay? Why wait all these years to file a lawsuit, right? That becomes a big question in all of the lawsuits that Sean Combs faces, because his argument would be, this is all a money grab. This is people coming out of the woodwork. They're jumping on the bandwagon. Okay. Quote, defendant Adria actively obstructed plaintiff's ability to seek justice by tampering with evidence, interfering with legal proceedings, and conspiring to conceal the crimes committed against plaintiff. Defendant's acts of coercion, obstruction, threat, and ongoing intimidation persisted until at least 2021, demonstrating a clear pattern of misconduct that effectively told the applicable statutes of limitation under federal and state law, meaning the claims aren't time barred anymore because he couldn't bring these claims earlier. Quote, plaintiff has now compiled the necessary evidentiary foundation to proceed with this legal action, including verified medical records, sworn witness statements, and corroborating documentation directly implicating the defendants in his abduction, drugging, sexual...
Diddy isn't just facing one lawsuit. He's being accused of running a larger, organized operation involving drugging, sexual assault, human trafficking, and witness tampering. In a separate case, it's even claimed that his actions were part of a criminal enterprise. Manzaro has compared what happened to him to modern-day trafficking. With such serious and far-reaching allegations, it raises a powerful question. When someone is influential...
Absolutely. If a person knowingly releases to the public a sex tape, like a pornographic nature involving a minor, that is absolutely a criminal offense in federal court and in state court. So I would say that anybody who does that could absolutely be charged with a criminal offense.
But any of these tapes that eventually perhaps may make it out into the public eye, is that a slam dunk? Even if it's not in the public eye, is it a slam dunk, the fact that they're even there for the prosecution?
It's definitely very compelling evidence. Anytime you have videotaped evidence, it's very compelling to a jury and it's very helpful to the prosecution. In my opinion, the federal government, a lot of people don't realize this, but they have like over a 90% conviction rate on any case that they charge. So certainly anything that can up that odds to more than mid 90%. Is very damaging to the defense.
So I heard on the racketeering charge alone, racketeering is hard to prove, but if you have a case and you've charged them with it, the chances of conviction are pretty high.
Like I said, even the federal government on their own website touts a more than 90% conviction rate. So that, in conjunction with the second count, which involves the sex with a I'm sorry, remind me, count two was, there's count one is racketeering, count two involves sex trafficking.
Exactly.
Which carries a life in prison penalty. With those charges alone, I would say, especially as more victims surface, if there's minor victims, this is very good for the prosecution.
And
Sean Diddy Combs will stand trial in May on his sex trafficking charges. A judge at a hearing in Manhattan set the trial date, also discussing a gag order imposed on prosecutors and the defense, telling them not to discuss the case or provide any material about the case to the media, to the public.
I made a request for the judge to issue what we called a gag order.
They contend that the government leaked a damaging piece of evidence potentially against Combs when a videotape from 2016 was played on CNN earlier this year. That video shows Sean Combs and his then girlfriend Cassie in a hotel in Los Angeles. It had been secret, private for many years, but then it came to the forefront and was played publicly. The judge says he will consider potentially having an evidentiary hearing to get to the bottom of that. That won't happen for some time. First, the defense and then the prosecution will submit paperwork outlining their positions on this.
Family's doing fine. Difficult circumstance. We're trying to end all of the clowning that's going on the internet, and we're in a good place.
You spoke to him at length.
He's doing fine. It's a difficult circumstance. He's making the best of the situation. You know, Dr. King called it the law of unintended consequences. Sometimes the more people push you down, the stronger you